Has your home suffered water damage, fire, or smoke damage? Call Equitable Public Adjusters at 561-843-4040. We will professionally handle your insurance claim with over 50 years of claims experience working for you, not the insurance company. Equitable Public Adjusters are not paid until you collect. If you're satisfied with your insurance settlement, great. But remember, Equitable Public Adjusters can report or reopen your claim. So what are you waiting for? Call Lenny at 561-843-4040 today.
And we are back.
We are back.
We have two great shows back to back. And for those of you who missed the first part of the show, it's not just the Steve-O and Rene show anymore. It is the award-winning Steve-O and Rene show. Rene and I were just chosen as the top AM personalities on New Times
Reader's Choice.
Reader's Choice. They just told us today we were top
It's nice
AM
to brag on the radio about yourself.
Why not? When do we ever get to brag?
We don't.
So now, listen, all this weather that's been coming up, and this is the best kind of show. I think, excuse me, I'm going to get hit this year. I know we're going to get hit this year. I know.
I hope not. It's been 10 years. It's been 10 years. So hopefully
El
not.
Nino is gone now. We're going to get hit with a hurricane this year.
Okay.
We just got through with the tropical storm.
Yes.
So what we got to do is we have to have the best of the best public adjuster, and we have Equitable Public Adjusting. He says his name's Leonard. I'm going to call him Lenny.
You just can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah, it's Junior. It's Jr. Leonard Jr.
Biscotti?
It's actually pronounced prosciutto. But thank you for
let me
having me.
prosciutto.
Yeah.
You didn't even know it. Prosciutto. I like that name. That's a very nice Italian name.
Thank you.
Very
So
nice.
tell everybody about your background, first of all, because you've been doing this for a while.
I have, and thanks for having me again. Really appreciate that. Yeah, I've been handling claims now for 16 years. So thankfully, been able to handle a lot of type of claims. Right now, I primarily handle homeowners claims for the homeowner. We do handle a little bit of commercial claims, but primarily our business is built up of homeowner or residential insurance claims.
Okay, so tell everybody what a public adjuster is. Some people have no clue.
Yeah, and sometimes I still find myself answering that same question to people that I'm introduced to. So ultimately, in the state of Florida, if you have a claim in your home, you will report it to the insurance company, and they will assign an adjuster. That adjuster works primarily and only for the insurance company. So their interest is towards their employer. The state, thankfully, have given licensing to people like myself that can only handle claims on behalf of the homeowner or commercial business owner. So my interest and my employment is towards the actual homeowner. And I work on behalf of the homeowner, representing their claim, their interest, and resolving their insurance dispute with their insurance company, and primarily with their adjuster that's assigned to the claim.
You know what I like about this? You can actually, someone can get a settlement, but you can come in, I think, within 2 years and look over and see if they got the right amount of settlement.
Yeah, so ideally the statute is 5 years. I can
I didn't know that.
5 years, but you want to get someone like myself or me involved from the very beginning.
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm the person to wipe up the floor with the water on it, but I'm the right person to present the claim. The presentation of a claim is like a first impression. Typically, if a first impression goes well, the relationship after that will go perfect. So you want to make sure that a public adjuster is involved from the very beginning, that can drive the claim, represent the claim from the very beginning to maximize the settlement.
Okay, so I'm going to speak firsthand because how many years ago were we hit with the hurricane? 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, Wilma. So I had a leak in my living room. The water was coming through the roof after Wilma. So I went to the insurance company and filed a claim. I had a leak. Denied, declined. I never called, well, I ended up, I short sale my house. It's a whole nother thing. But I'm just saying, so if you are involved, now I should never have been denied. So what would happen if I had a public adjuster like yourself going into the insurance company? What's the difference with me going to the insurance company or versus you going?
Right. Yeah. Great question. You know, sometimes your claim is just not covered under your policy, and
But
either myself, an attorney, or anybody else can overturn that decision because it's just not covered, and that sometimes does happen. Not knowing the whereabouts of your claim, but ideally, an insurance adjuster hired as a public insurance adjuster will make sure that we're representing you. So I explain it this way pretty simply. a home is more than likely the largest investment in your portfolio. And why would you go into a relationship or an insurance claim without any proper representation to protect that largest investment in that portfolio? We hire
Right.
financial advisors, we hire attorneys to
Well,
represent
most
us in
people don't know.
closings.
Most people, like myself,
Right.
I wasn't aware that you could just go to a public adjuster. And, of course, I was turned down. I said, okay, I'm not covered. People do that.
Right.
And the insurance company tries to pull that off and say, you're not covered. They don't want to pay you.
Yeah, insurance companies sometimes just render an opinion based upon their review of the facts that were presented to them and reviewing their insurance agreement or their policy. And yeah, sometimes they make a decision on coverage and it's overturned by someone like myself. So yeah, we'll get involved and we'll make sure we look at that denial and find out where in the policy they're denying the claim, whether it's truthful and accurate. And we'll make sure if it's not, we overturn it. And then we talk about, well, how much now is the claim worth once we know that the claim should be paid.
So the insurance company, is it their job to pay you the least amount possible?
Yeah, it's a business. There's only really one insurer right now that is, state run and government run. So, they have a bottom line, and oftentimes their opinion of what is owed is very different than mine. And, how public insurance adjusters are paid is a contingent basis. So we're paid, first of all, not until you are, but more importantly, a percentage of the overall claim. So we want to push the limits. We want to make sure we maximize that policy to your advantage. And it all works out in the benefit to the insured. But yes, the public adjuster does receive a percentage.
Okay, but do they typically get more? When you
Yeah.
have a public adjuster, you'll get more. Like I got denied the claim, and I'm going to go into another instance because my sister had another insurance claim, and she had a public adjuster. Obviously, he didn't do a good job, so there are good adjusters like yourself, the expert as far as public adjusting. But she had a pipe explode in her house under the sink. So they were going to replace the floor just in the kitchen. Now, if you have a floor, you can't replace just a portion of it because tiles don't match. So what do you do in that particular case?
Yeah, you go back to the policy because that's really what's governing what the insurance company should be doing. So in that policy, it states that the insuring company or the insurer should indemnify the insured or the policy or their homeowner. So if you need to indemnify someone and put somebody back in the same position they were prior to the loss, and now they have two different color tiles on their floor, well, that's not where they were before. So you'll argue these points and you'll bring up other points to the adjuster or decision maker at the insurance company to prove that their suggestion of how they're repairing that claim is not correct because it doesn't meet the definition of that policy of putting them back in the same position.
Or the kitchen cabinets that needed to be replaced.
Same analogy, right. So a lot of times insurance companies will try to replace a particular linear footage of the cabinets, most likely the lower cabinets, and not replace the upper cabinets. And there's other ways that you can resolve those things.
But then again, those don't match. Then you have the same
Right.
problem. Different wood grain or something, it's not going to match.
Right. And those are examples and things we do each and every day to overcome them.
A lot of people don't even know what's in their policies, do they?
Yeah, unfortunately, we get the policy in the mail, but we just stick it in that envelope and we never really do much with it. So
Until you need it.
right. And I tell people all the time that's not really their business. They need to have it. They need to make sure that they are properly covered with the limits of insurance based upon the value of their house and what's in it. But I'm not expecting them to understand every page, every paragraph.
A
Okay,
lot
so
of
I
people
was
don't know what they're covered by either.
I know. See, I have questions for you. So I want to know what you're covered for in the house. We're in a house. So if you have a toilet leak, say, and all of a sudden you're seeing like some rot because everybody's toilet leaks. At one point, it's going to overflow. So you have a wood cabinet in there, and then all of a sudden you see like some water damage.
Right.
Are you covered for that? Like your cabinet in the bathroom or under the sink, you have what is it, dispenser?
Garbage disposal.
Garbage, just thank you. I'm looking to him. He's not going to help me.
I can help you with that.
Thank God for Leonard.
Yeah.
Or garbage dispenser. So that breaks. And then you have a leak under your sink. So, of course, you have wood cabinets. There's mold and mildew. Are you covered for that?
Yeah, generally speaking, yes. Although it's hard to speak generally speaking in my type of business because every claim is a little bit different. So some of those examples you mentioned are covered under the accidental discharge of a plumbing system, whether it be a garbage disposal, a plumbing leak, a toilet. All the things are actual plumbing systems, and when they break, they'll either explode, as you mentioned, or they'll leak. Sometimes they leak very quickly if it's a pressurized line. Sometimes they leak very slowly if it's a garbage disposal and there's water not going through that system all the time. So it's important to, check those areas and make sure that it's not going on for a long period of time, because there are insurance policies that it will exclude items that leak for a longer period of time when they're not noticed.
But sometimes you don't even realize it.
And that's the point. Sometimes we're being penalized here as Floridians for leaks that are happening when we don't even know about them.
So can't you lie and say it just happened? How did they know?
Yeah.
I'm saying, how would
He
they
can't
even
say
know?
that on the air.
Okay, I'm saying it. How would you know? Okay, so
Yeah,
I would
there's-
say it just happened. My garbage disposal just broke. How would they know? It just happened. So what's the time frame that you need to notice that?
Every policy is different, but then again, that's important for if you don't know how long in your policy it states you were to be covered if it's leaking or not, then you probably want to look towards someone that definitely does. And that would be myself, because the insurance company is going to build a defense if they feel as though that you allowed that leak to happen over a longer period of time. So they'll hire experts such as engineers
You could
to
tell?
look at that. Sometimes you can look at the wood decay, rings of water. You can look at some of those things.
You forgot to tell people they could watch this live on his website.
Yes,
He has
you
it
have it set
running.
up on your website?
He has
Oh,
it
good.
running on his website.
Tell everybody your website address.
It's very easy. It's the name of the company. It's equitablepublicadjusters.com.
Now, tell me something. What happens? What other things do you cover? It's not just leaks. You do other things too.
Yeah, majority of the claims are plumbing leaks, because those are different
Prevalent.
points in your house, and there's a lot more of them. But the roof leaks at times. The refrigerator has a water stream that'll leak. The bathtubs overflow. Fire time to time. There's vandalism at times, and there's theft. Break into your home or business.
What about mold and mildew?
Yeah, so mold and mildew is an endorsement in a policy. If the mold and mildew or rot, as we talked about earlier, it has to be caused by something that's actually covered,
A leak.
a leak. But then it goes back to the duration of the leak. So it's important that, again, you present your claim in a way that's honest. It's looking at the policy and making sure that you're presenting that claim correctly, honestly, to better the overall result, which is a claim payment.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Most people don't go into the sinks all the time. Like, I'm talking about the garbage disposal again. So I go, because this happened to me. So I didn't know that my garbage disposal was leaking.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I saw black underneath the sink. But I had no idea. Who's under the sink looking for that?
Yeah.
So you're not going to sit there and look to see if, anything's leaking, and you have to, call a public adjuster or make a claim with your insurance company, and it ruins your cabinets.
Right.
So that's
the
what I'm
policy
saying.
is strictly going to enforce the exclusion where it's leaking, but you do nothing to mitigate the loss and just allow it to get worse over time. If that's not the case, and you simply went underneath the sink to try to find something that you don't normally find, and it's in the back of the cabinet, and you see water, standing
Exactly.
water, then that is not an exclusion, in my opinion. That's something that would be covered.
So would you be covered for all the cabinets to be replaced?
In most cases, again, it's hard to do a repair to a kitchen cabinets and ensure it looked like it did prior to. So more than likely, kitchen cabinets need to be replaced in its entirety.
So then you take in the kitchen cabinets, and then sometimes you have to do new tiles on the floor. Are the tiles covered as well, or wood flooring?
Wood flooring, and sometimes there's drywall and there's mold on the drywall. So oftentimes part of my role is to complete an estimate for the ensuing damage or the resulting damage that is caused by that plumbing leak. And I'm not too concerned about the amount. I'm more concerned about making sure that all the damage is depicted in the estimate. And as long as that amount's within the policy limit, well, that's what we're going to ask the insurance company to pay. We want to make sure we capture all of it.
Do you make referrals for contractors? Do you have contractors that could come in? If people say, can you recommend somebody to do my cabinetry or my flooring?
Yeah, so public adjusters are hired to handle the insurance claim. The repairs, who does the repair and how much the repairs are done for, that's all the decision of the actual homeowner and who they trust to make those decisions. So oftentimes, I'm not influenced or going to be recommending anybody to do the repair.
But before we go to break, I want you to think about this. There's people who are unhappy with their claims that they got from the insurance company.
Everybody is.
You just said
Really?
5 years, right? So when we come back, I want to talk about, because maybe there's people out there who aren't happy with their claims that can contact you, call you up, and maybe there is some more.
See, I was never aware of that. You just taught me something different, something
Absolutely.
new.
Okay, so we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we've got the Equitable Public Adjusters. We've got Lenny with us today. He's one of the owners, him and his dad. Their phone number is 877-869-8989. And you don't mind giving out your cell number
Not
either.
at all.
561-843-4040. We're going to be right back, and we're going to talk about, because I bet you there's people out there who aren't happy with their claims. I want Lenny to make them understand.
Definitely.
Might be able to, they can call him. We'll be right back.
Has your home suffered water damage, fire, or smoke damage? Call Equitable Public Adjusters at 561-843-4040. We will professionally handle your insurance claim with over 50 years of claims experience working for you, not the insurance company. Equitable Public Adjusters are not paid until you collect. If you're satisfied with your insurance settlement, great, but remember, Equitable Public Adjusters can report or reopen your claim. So what are you waiting for? Call Lenny at 561-843-4040 today.
And we're back. We're sitting here with Lenny. He's one of the owners.
That's because you don't want to say his last name. It's so difficult. But it's a really nice last name.
Thank you.
Say it, Renee.
No, I'll
Okay.
pass. It's Lenny.
Anyway, the name of
Lenny,
the
my new
company-
friend.
The name of the company is Equitable Public Adjusters. And what we're trying to do, and we know like every 15 minutes we have a new audience. So again, tell people what a public adjuster is.
Sure. So a public adjuster is one that's licensed in the state of Florida to handle claims only for homeowners and commercial business owners. We handle claims for the homeowner. We are not allowed, or nor are we licensed to handle claims for the insurance company. So we work with the homeowners to represent their interest to the insurance claim.
Now, also, do you handle Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach?
Yeah, so we're state licensed, so if it makes sense, we'll travel. But ideally, a good majority of my business is out of Palm Beach, Broward, and a little farther north of that.
Okay,
we
so let
have
me ask
Treasure
this.
Coast, so we
Yes,
do have a lot of
okay,
people.
let me ask you this. Do you go to people's houses? Do you do a free consultation?
Yeah, so insurance adjusters or public insurance adjusters are only paid on a contingent basis. So a lot of times I'll go to a home and I'll take a look at their policy and their damage and answer their questions. And sometimes it makes sense for me to get involved, and I love that. But oftentimes, for whatever reason, it just doesn't, and we walk away shaking hands. So, yeah.
So you can
good.
tell immediately. You can look at the policy. You
Look
can
at the
say
policy.
you don't have coverage for that. It's not worth my work because you get paid based on what they collect. Also, you get a percentage.
Correct. So
Okay, so
if I offer to handle your claim, that means that you're going to be compensated for your damages.
You got a good story for us?
Yeah, there's so many that run through. A lot of times people ask, well, how much more did you increase this claim or that claim? And we can talk for the next 15 minutes about some success stories. But the great ones are, when you battle with that insurance company and you stick to your guns and you take it all the way through the limits of the policy to get what you actually need, and then you finally do, and you get that call from the homeowner, and sometimes they're crying, and sometimes they finally get their kitchen or their bathroom fixed, and oftentimes it's these homeowners can't make the repairs until they actually get the insurance proceeds. So
That's
right,
right.
now
exactly.
they're
And
finally
they're living with this.
right, and they're moving on, and they're getting their kitchen replaced or their particular home, replaced, and it's gratifying. I love that sometimes.
How long does it take for you to collect? So somebody has a claim, and it could be like they can't use the kitchen, and so how long does it take for them to be able to collect?
Every insurance company is different answering that question, but I can
Typically,
honestly say that over the years, the length of time has grown by at least a month. So you're talking
Wow.
you're talking sometimes between 2 weeks, and it could be 8 weeks. 10
Wow.
And
weeks.
some of these people have to actually go out of their house and get a hotel room, don't they?
Yeah, there is coverage in the policy to pay for your living expenses.
there is. Wow, I would never know that.
Yep, it's an additional amount that is owed to you for you to live outside or eat outside the home because you can't use your home in the fashion it was prior to the loss. So yeah, these people are living at a hotel. Sometimes they rent apartments if it's long term to do the repair. So that all becomes part of your claim and falls on my shoulders to represent.
Okay, so now it's hurricane time. So I'm sure you get a lot of claims for roof leaks. So even if it's not a hurricane, people don't realize that all of a sudden a tile's missing, or like we just had on the side of our house, some fascia got rotted from the roof leaking. So is there certain exclusions from your policy, or typically are you covered for a roof leak?
Yeah, so if you talk about wind damage or hurricane claims, those are very different than the average roof leak. So it's raining today, it has been for a while. If your roof is leaking, you'll most likely get coverage for the ensuing damage, but not the roof repair. And the policy is explicit in saying...
Explain that. I don't understand
so
that.
the policy is explicit in the fact that it pays for the resulting damage or the ensuing damage, as the policy states. And that's not the cause. So the cause can be the pipe breaking, the garbage disposal failing, or it can be the roof leaking. And it's the resulting damage that is, again, entered through that roof that is old and may have a crack in it or whatever it may be. It comes in, damages the ceiling, damages the popcorn, damages the walls, and everything else.
So you're covered for that?
You're covered for the interior damage of a roof leak, but not the roof repair itself, unless something struck it. And
like a hurricane.
A hurricane will most likely blow tiles off the roof, blow a tree into the roof. Now we have a damaged roof or a hole in the roof. The cause is the wind event, and now the resulting damage to include the damage to the roof and the interior damage is covered.
Okay, so why wasn't I covered? So Wilma came. We're going to go back to this story because
Too bad it was more than 5
Where were
years
you?
ago.
Yeah, where were you 5
I was
years
here.
ago? I didn't know
He
about
was a
you.
very
See, this
busy
is a
man then.
no. I'm just saying. See, this was a problem. So Wilma came. I never had a leak before, and all of a sudden, water's coming out of my ceiling through my chandelier all over, and they said I wasn't covered. And you know what? I had nothing. I couldn't do anything. I didn't know that there was a such thing as a public adjuster. I said, "Okay, I'm not covered." See, as a homeowner, how was I supposed to know? So this is very important for people to understand that just because the insurance company denies your claim doesn't mean that you're not covered. So again,
Yeah,
there was an event.
Right. A denial is a lot of times, in almost 100% of the time, in the very beginning, a subjective opinion of coverage under the policy. So oftentimes, as I mentioned earlier, denials are overturned. And they're overturned by bringing information relevant to the policy and actually what happened at the home.
Leonard in. Okay. Yes.
And then the insurance company now has a clearer picture of what happened, can depict that in the policy, and now will overturn that denial. So
Okay.
unfortunately, I can't go back in time for your particular claim.
Mine is more than 5 years, but you were
Exactly.
talking about 5 years, okay? So you said you could have something that, you could go back in and look within 5 year period, which I didn't even know.
Yeah, so
So
what
that's the
happens?
statute of limitations is 5 years
So
for a claim.
almost on a daily basis, I'll get a call from somebody, whether it be a referral or something. Hey, Lenny, this guy just got a check, or this guy, just got some paperwork. He's a little bit unhappy. I heard him talking about it at lunch, the water cooler, whatever it may be. And then, there's a little bit of dialogue over the phone, but ideally I want the invitation into the home so I can take a look at the damage, the paperwork, the policy, and then try to understand what the customer wants and needs. And then hopefully a relationship starts from there, and I take over the claim right then and there.
Wow.
So now
Who
you
knew?
mostly do residential, but we actually gave someone your name yesterday. It was a restaurant, but the next store had a flood. I'm saying it backwards. The restaurant had a flood.
And it
that
went next door.
Next door to a retail store. And you could actually come in for them also.
Yeah, so
Even though it's commercial.
So commercial policy is obviously very different. Not sure in that particular example who would be the person collecting for their damages. Oftentimes, restaurant policies cover a certain amount. Sometimes they're self-insured to a certain amount. Sometimes they rent the building. So I can't stress enough that each claim holds its own merits, and it kind of lives on itself. And you have to look at the policy and the situation to determine, what's best for that customer, and more importantly, who's liable for their damage.
So
See, this guy didn't
Wait,
even
I have
know.
a question. I have another question. So, as far as residential, aside from the commercial, so are people's policies so much different? Like you go in, everybody has such a wide array of different policies.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it really dictated by the policy that you have as to how and what's going to be covered. It didn't actually used to be that way 10 years ago. But the state has allowed each insuring company here in the state of Florida to change their policies, and it's very
So
different.
you have to really be careful when you're actually getting a policy. You want to read over the policy. Most people don't. They just want insurance. And okay, you're in a flood zone, so let me get flood insurance because that's mandated by the state. You have to have flood insurance. So you just, and most people go for like the cheapest insurance. They don't want to spend a fortune because they're already spending for mortgage and taxes and stuff like that. So, but you have to be really careful about what policy you have because if something does happen, you want to be able to collect.
Right, and that's the questions to the agent when you purchase that policy. You want to be asking, "Am I covered for this? What happens if that happens?" What's the solvency of the company that I'm insuring my home? Are they a local company? All those things. At the end of the day, it's outside of my license to answer and address those questions. But if you have a claim, that's where I welcome the phone call, and then we'll deal with the policy that the agent sold you at that point.
And that number is?
My cell phone number is 561-843-4040.
Okay.
And your website. Give everybody your website.
EquitablePublicAdjusters.com.
And who knows what could happen between now and next month when you're back on.
I know.
When should a person get a public adjuster?
Yeah,
the day of the storm or?
Yeah, so let's
It's not going to come out in a hurricane.
Why not? Money's
Are
money.
you?
Yeah. So, hurricanes are things that happen once a decade or even longer in this case. So, my job is to handle everything else. And that everything else is literally everything else.
Fires, smoke.
Fires, and everything
leaks.
else. So ideally, when the event happens, you want to take immediate action to stop the damage from occurring. So call the plumber, fix the part, put out the fire, do all those things. And then, there's going to be companies that are going to help you start mitigating the loss. But then you need to start thinking about how are you going to document the claim? How are you going to report the claim and represent your claim? And those are all things that I'm happy to help with.
Perfect. People need to know about this. I didn't know.
People don't know. That's
No, I'm just
the
saying I didn't know. So that's why this show is really important. I didn't know there was a such thing as a public adjuster. So I went
lot of
and
people don't.
I found out differently. No, I'm saying I had no coverage.
Exactly.
So I probably did. See, if Lenny came to my house, I probably would have been covered for the damage.
So this is really an important number, especially with our weather. I'm not saying we're going to have a hurricane or
aside
anything.
from that, pipes burst, things happen,
There's a lot of
toilets
things.
leak. People flush them too many times, especially in our house.
So you can call and write this number down because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. 561-843-4040. And you can actually go back and watch today's show. You can go to their website, which is www.equitablepublicadjusters.com. And this is probably one of the most important phone numbers to have.
Absolutely.
You don't want to start Googling somebody. By then, it's going to be too late. So, man, we love having you on our show. You're going to be with us again next month. And again, the name of the company is Equitable Public Adjusters. So, listen, thanks for listening, joining us today. We're now studs now. We're award-winning.
Oh,
now.
stop.
Anyhow, we'll see you next Thursday at 5 o'clock, 5 to 6 for more Ask the Experts. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show with Steve-O and Rene. Tune in every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. while some of the top local experts in their field from Broward and Palm Beach counties educate you in the areas of law, health, financial, and home improvement. You can also call our offices at 888-574-6999 to become an expert on our show. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.